I understand.
Commissioner Ottman on? I don't see her. Commissioner Ottman's logging on. So we're gonna just wait a second for her. Here we are. Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you all to the Dania Beach City Commission regular meeting. It's a virtual meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 8th, and it is 7:02. Call the roll, please.
Mayor James.
Here.
Vice Mayor Salvino.
Here.
Commissioner Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Llewellyn.
Here.
Commissioner Odman.
Here.
City Manager Garcia.
Here.
City Attorney Ansbro.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to take a moment of silence. Thank you. And can you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic and one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll start with our presentations and special event approvals. The first is the Dania Beach Redevelopment Plan Status and Update by Ken Krasnow from Colliers International.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes. How are you, Ken?
All right. Good. Good to hear or see you again. I apologize. I was a little delayed today, so hopefully you can see me today. And I think Frank is going to share my screen or so that you can see the presentation. And we're going to give an update on Ocean Park.
Okay.
I don't know if Frank is sharing screen.
Slides are loading. Just give me one moment.
Okay, no problem. Good to see everybody.
Good to see you too. It's been a while.
Yes. Interesting times.
While we're waiting, can you introduce yourself to those who may be listening and watching?
Yes, so thank you, Ms. Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager. I am Ken Krasnow, I'm the Vice Chairman of Colliers International, and we have the great pleasure of working with your City Manager and your staff on the redevelopment of Ocean Park, and we're going to give a little update as we wait for the presentation to be uploaded.
Just having a technical problem. Please bear with me.
That's no problem.
Frank, would it be easier for us to do something that didn't require video at the moment?
You can come back to me if you want.
It's coming up right now. Just
Okay,
a few more seconds.
Okay.
no problem. I appreciate everybody's patience. Patience seems to be the key theme these days. So
Well,
I think that we're
right
all
now
getting-
you have to have patience, right?
and a few other things as we get through this.
And I'm sorry, my PowerPoint is just spinning and it's not doing anything. So I'm just trying to get it to load and open here.
Okay.
I mean, I could give a verbal update. I mean, I don't know if you've distributed the PowerPoint to the commission.
Well, let's try this, Ken. Commissioner Odman, did your COVID update need a PowerPoint?
I do, but I can, Frank gave me
permissions for share screen, so I can just share my screen and do it that way if you'd like me to.
Sure, have at it. Let's see if that works.
Okay. Let's see. I guess this was predicated on the idea that I knew how to share my screen, huh?
I
Let's see.
I have my presentation ready in the meantime, if you want to go back to 3.1.
Yes, yes. Here we go.
Sorry about that. Here we go. All right, here we go.
Spinning. There we go. Are you going to bring it up in the screen?
Can everybody see the presentation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I think you could just.
If you just put it in slide mode.
Give me a moment.
Start top left.
There we go. Okay. So let's, again, this is a quick update on the progress at Ocean Park. Go to the next slide. Just to reiterate, again, the goals and objectives to create a unique and world-class beach experience in accordance with the master plan that you've approved. Again, the emphasis there is on unique and world-class, both of which we are extremely confident that we are going to be able to realize. Again, continue, you've got some tremendous momentum in Dania Beach, and we think that this project will continue the great momentum that you've built. Obviously, sustainability and resiliency is key. So one of the other goals is to re-nourish and fortify this beach for the next generation. The next one is, I think, a very interesting dynamic that's evolved is to really rebrand Ocean Park, not rebrand, but sort of expand the brand of Ocean Park as a world-class research, development, marina, and education facility, which is going to be a tremendous community asset. And then again, finally, but last but not least, attract new restaurants and amenities of a variety of offerings, and that's again very critically important there. Provide additional open space and new features for the entire community. So those are the goals and the objectives of our plan. As I know we've talked about last time. Next slide, Frank. Your city manager has created a truly world-class and diverse team. You've got some great people within the Dania Beach team, parks, finance, public works, etc. I bring your attention to the other box there with FDOT, the Navy, and FAU. Obviously, we've got three important, but yet in their own right, bureaucratic organizations, and obviously the COVID timetable has delayed us somewhat. But I'm proud to say that your team has done yeoman's work in helping to move this along, and we now have a consensus where we're ready to kind of move into the next steps. But those are three critical stakeholders in this project. And as you see, as we'll go through the next couple of slides, we're very important in getting alignment among all of these stakeholders. Again, just to reiterate, when you look at this, again, truly world-class and unique opportunity, I do bring your attention to the one area that took a lot of our time, which is a new parking garage, which will allow the renourishment and replenishment of a lot of the beach area, as we described before. And then you see a couple of areas where there's plans for some new restaurants and new amenities. Next. This is, again, one of the critical components that needed to be resolved before we could move forward. And so this is land, as you are probably aware, which was owned by FDOT. And again, between FDOT, the Navy, and FAU, getting consensus on how and where this parcel would need to be acquired, because as you'll see on the next slide, this is where the new garage would be located. And as you can see, it's on land that's was between FDOT and Dania. Again, just to reiterate, this is the EDSA master plan that the commission approved some years ago. So we haven't deviated from the plan, but the key was really getting the consensus on the garage. That was really the linchpin to allow this project to finally now, get positioned to where it is. Next. And again, this is part of the approved EDSA conceptual vision. As you can see there, again, new restaurants, new amenities, replenishment and renourishment of the beach area. So this is something that you've seen and you've approved. And like I said, we're not deviating from the conceptual vision of your approved plan. Next. This gives you just, again, a little steps of kind of where we've been. Multiple meetings with, as I mentioned, the various, stakeholders. But obviously, as we dove down deep into some of the issues, two main areas really became of paramount concern: security, and then obviously some of the issues as we're dealing with some of the COVID pandemic issues. So parking, security, COVID, and how the current facilities would be capitalized, the lease terms that would need to be synchronized, and again, I think the use of expanded role and expanded programs that FAU is going to be undertaking, which will be, again, a big community benefit in their research and ocean development. So we have now arrived at consensus on the location of the garage and the parameters of the synchronizing of the leases, so that all of these issues can be addressed as we move forward. Next. This gives you just a sense of where the new garage will be located. Again, the shaded area there that you see is an area where both the Navy and FAU, they're performing some pretty highly proprietary research in these facilities. So security was of paramount concern to them. So it wasn't just the location. Right now, as you know, they're using some surface parking in there. There's a gate. It's secure, but it's somewhat not secure. We think this new garage will again enable the beach to be replenished and refortified, and also meet the increased demand that we think is going to be there with the new restaurants and amenities, and provide FAU and the Navy with the security and the comfort that they can continue to expand and grow their programs in this facility, and make Dania Beach one of the linchpins in their research endeavors going forward. Next. So next steps. To finalize the transfer of the land, the DOT land, to the city, so that the garage will now be completely on city-owned land. We need to prepare a memorandum of understanding with FAU, so that ultimately a developer will understand what the terms and conditions are. And then next steps would be to prepare a RFQ. So this is a request for qualifications. And again, I'll just describe just briefly, but the qualifications really go out to the private community. We want to get background on the developers. We want to make sure that they understand the story of Dania Beach and all of the demographics, all of the various information with regards to the site, and so on and so forth. Next. And the respondents, when they come back, obviously, again, are going to be required to tell us about their experience, their qualifications, a conceptual development plan. And again, this allows you to see what their approach to the project is, what their design and conceptual plans are, their targeted, uses and the various amenities. So this really lays out their vision and how well their vision fits in with your approved EDSA master plan and vision. And obviously it will have some proposed terms based on a long-term ground lease. So the land will remain under city ownership. Next. The RFQ, it's a two-step kind of evaluation process. So the first step is to determine if the groups meet the goals and objectives of the city, if the conceptual plan fits within, your needs, and then obviously to rank these respondents and then ask them to come back with more detailed definitions, and ultimately then you would have a lot more information from which to then choose a group to enter into negotiations with. So you're going to get a lot of feedback and a lot of opportunity to make determinations and decisions about which direction and which plan and which group you want to enter into ultimately negotiations with. Next. And so, as I said, this gives you a little bit of a timetable. We would anticipate an RFQ. So it's not an RFP, it's an RFQ. It's a qualifications package to be issued sometime in February. We would expect the respondents to come back in May. We would meet and have some time to make sure that they aligns with the goals of the city. And our expectation is that we would bring recommendation to council sometime in June and give you the ability to pick a development team from which you would then issue an invitation to negotiate sometime in the summer. And the expectation is that you should be able to finalize something before the end of next year. Actually, the COVID, the timing and the pandemic, somewhat worked in our favor with aligning all of these groups. And as we move into 2021, there's palpable kind of pent up demand.
We lost you. Hold on one second. Where did he go?
Hello?
Yeah, I hear you now. What happened?
Oh, I was going to say, timing actually, I think, is going to work in your favor. Again, the pent up demand, the amount of capital, the amount of new activity that's moving into this region is really going to accelerate as we move into to 2021. So bringing a project like this to the market in 2021, we think is going to generate some tremendous excitement and opportunities, as I said before, to create, a really, really unique and world-class experience on your, wonderful beach. So that's the quick snapshot of where we are and what we've been doing over this interesting time period. Happy to answer any questions or look forward to working with the team.
Thank you, Ken. I think a few of my questions were already answered within the presentation. Thank you for the thorough presentation. A lot of us are anticipating a lot. I know that we also have, for a discussion and possible action later on, a kind of update about the grill. There are a few questions that I want to consult with my colleagues, and so we'll wait at that time. But other than that, I don't see any hands other than City Manager Garcia. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add, I wanted to thank Ken and the Colliers Group and the team. The biggest challenge that we were dealing with, and I've discussed it with you and your colleagues, is that even with the Dania Beach Grill closed, our beach had become so popular that we were finding ourselves closing the beach every weekend on a good weather weekend. So it was paramount that we negotiated the parking component. Because in addition to the Dania Beach Grill, we were also very fortunate to receive a $200,000 grant from Tallahassee, matched with $200,000 that you all had approved in the budget. So we always also have coming forward $400,000 park, enhancement project that's going to include better play environment, art component, cultural component. So we're very excited about the future of our beach and teaming up also with FAU for the educational component. So we'll have education, recreation, and a cultural component all within what I will consider to recommend and to state that it will be one of the most unique and special beaches experiences in the whole state of Florida.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
See, Marcos, you have your hand up. I'll wait until we get to citizens' comments. He's not a part of the presentation, correct? I don't think he is. The next presentation will come from the Broward County Division of the Cultural Division for Public Art and Design, the Administrator Leslie Fordham, to give us an update of the Public Arts Master Plan and the survey.
Hello, this is Leslie Fordham with the Broward Cultural Division. Mayor, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. Good evening, Mayor and City Commission. Do you have my PowerPoint or should I share my screen?
Waiting up. Frank. Frank, did you say you had it? He kind of cut off. Oh, well, he has it.
Yes, it's coming up now.
We have it.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so we go to the next page. We're going to start by talking about what public art does for a city. On the next page, please. Public art could contribute to the quality of life of a city. It enhances the atmosphere and it creates an attraction for visitors. And on the next slide, we're showing that public art can create a voice for the community, help initiate a public conversation, and it can declare the worth of a place. Next slide, we're showing art that creates a more welcoming environment, and it might bring a new vision to a space or different understanding or awareness. Next slide. In this slide, we're showing a public art project that started with community engagement. The artist talked to people who came off of a subway system or a transit system, and they talked to the artist about colors, and then she used the colors that were selected to form her design here. And so that involved the community. They became more interested in the arts and the place. It became more meaningful to the community, greater appreciation for the spot. And on the next slide, we know that public art can create economic vitality. It can attract people and create growth of local businesses and feature forgotten landmarks. In our next slide, we know that it creates excitement in the city. These signal boxes are all around the city of Dania Beach. Next slide, and the one after that, please. Just a brief history of public art and how it got moving in the city. Back in 2012, the Community Arts Plan recommended establishing a public art program. And then in 2014, the Community Arts Council launched the Signal Box 7 program. And then in 2019, the Citywide Parks Master Plan was approved, which recommends public art to enhance city parks. And then in December of 2019, the Public Art Ordinance was adopted, which calls for a public art master plan and guidelines. And on the next page, and the page after that, we'll tell you about our role. We were selected to create the master plan for the city due to our experience with working with artists throughout the Broward community. On the next slide, we have more than 40 years of experience. We have public art administrators on our team. We have arts marketing experts. We have a graphic designer. We have arts assistants. So we've got plenty of experience with all facets of public art so that we can create a wonderful plan for you. Next slide. We're working closely with the community, and a team approach with both the staff and elected officials. COVID, of course, is creating a new dynamic for us all there. And on the next slide, it's very important to create a community dialogue and offer community engagement opportunities. Next slide. We're experts in the public art process. This year alone, we're working on 20 public art processes and projects. We're ferrying them through the selection process and onto the next. The master plan will be a guide to implementing the public art policy. It'll recommend potential locations and type of art. And the guidelines will be a how-to guide to selecting public art for proposals. Next slide, please. We're listing here many of the different components of the master plan and the guidelines. And on the next slide, what we'll be doing is reviewing the city's planning documents, assessing future development plans like the one you just heard about for Ocean Park, conducting site visits, surveying stakeholders, that's already in the works, and producing a press release describing Dania Beach's public art initiative. Next slide, please. I mentioned a survey. As of today, we actually have 150 responses to the survey. We're asking people in the community what they'd like to see in terms of public art for the city, where they'd like to see it, what they like about Dania Beach. And that survey closes on December 18th. Next slide. Here we're laying out our 9-month plan for developing the master plan. We're in month 2 right now. And on the next slide, in phase 2, we'll be submitting our outline for the plan and our guidelines. Next slide. Schematic showing what months we'll be working on those items. And on the next slide, phase 3, the final phase, we'll be working towards completion of the master plan and guidelines and finishing up by making presentations to city staff and city commission. And on the next slide and the next one after that, staff, as I mentioned, and we'll be doing ongoing design work on the master plan. So it will be fully illustrated with plenty of examples of public art. And I'd like to show you some examples of public art right now. So on the next slide, you see 2 sculptures in a city in front of a new development. The development hasn't quite opened yet, but I'd like to call your attention to the seating at the bottom of the sculpture. So important that public art can have a function like this one. Not only do people get to enjoy the art, if they were here, they would have a place to sit and drink their coffee that they might just pick up out of one of the new shops there. And this sculpture in the background lights up at night too. And on the next slide, an artwork in a roadway, punctuating a roadway, giving you an idea of where you might be, help with wayfinding. And on the next slide, artwork can be functional and whimsical. And on the next slide, more functional, but very pleasing public art. And on the next slide, this artwork uses concrete. It happens to be a sound wall along a highway. However, stamped concrete is a great vehicle for public art. And you can see all the wonderful detail here that the artist has incorporated. And next slide, same type of illustration, a functional element where an artist has created lots of detail to tell a story. Next slide. This is a splash pad in Charlotte, North Carolina, filled with kids in the summer. And the next slide was a pirate ship park, fairly ordinary pirate ship park, and an artist who had actually lived on a boat for the last 9 months was brought in to come up with a new design for the ship. And then he also designed some of these other sculptural elements that you see around the ship, such as that sea monster. And on the next slide, another functional artist design. This is a pocket park. It's in a ski resort. So the artist took a theme around the idea of precipitation. It's called Cloudscape. And so the bear, the ram, they're all dreaming of clouds here. And underneath the actual cloud, there's some chimes. So if kids are playing on this piece, climbing on it, you might hear the tinkling of bells. And the surface, that squishy rubber surface underneath, represents a river, also designed by the artist to make a complete environment. And next slide, some close-ups of those same pieces. And the final slide, a whimsical piece of artwork, a photo opportunity. If a person's standing directly in front of those wings, someone else could take the picture and they look like they've sprouted wings themselves. So really cool, great attraction, and pretty exciting too. Next slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Leslie. I don't see any other comments from our commission, but we definitely appreciate the update of the Public Arts Master Plan. We are so very excited and thrilled to get this rolling and on the road. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Our next presentation would be by Stacy Brown, the 1000 Mermaids, the Artificial Reef Project.
Hello, hello.
Wait. Hi.
Hi, Stacy.
Hey.
Stacy.
All right, so I'm going to share because we had an issue earlier with ours as well. So I'm going to share our presentation.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you very much for having us. This is Evan Snow, Executive Director of the Thousand Mermaids Artificial Reef Project and Ocean Rescue Alliance, along with our Director of Education and CFO, Stacy Brown. And for the new board members, first commission members, congratulations for making it. And we're glad to update you on what we've been and work on some next steps for selecting some public art to not only go in the ocean, but throughout the city of Dania.
Awesome.
So,
Go ahead,
yes.
Devin.
If you didn't know, we make artistically crafted artificial reefs that look and act like natural reefs. We are a 501c3 Florida not-for-profit and an environmental NPO that uses the art to help not only raise awareness about the issues that are plaguing our reefs, but the actual reefs as public art actually serve a bunch of different environmental benefits that we all are in need of in regards to our local reefs and beaches. And we do this through art and memorial reefs, core restoration, reef restoration, research. We do a lot with ecotourism, supporting the local dive shops, hotels, obviously the city, the county tourism board, and education and citizen science, which Stacy, a local Dania resident, heads up as well. And as I'm sure you guys are aware, unfortunately, our reefs are in really bad shape. They recently reported that we're down to 2% in the state of Florida, the largest barrier reef in the continental United States that provides a $7 billion economic impact to us locally in Southeast Florida alone, supporting over 70,000 jobs. So we are coming up with new solutions to affect these issues plaguing our reefs. And just a few of the reasons that I know that the city is very interested in, not just the environmental development, which there's thankfully tons of benefits to these engineered reefs that we provide, including habitat for fish, helping reduce storm surge, and countless benefits that thankfully these reefs do provide. But the increase in tourism and ecotourism specifically to provide much needed support to local hospitality partners, hotels, local dive shops, and everybody else in between. We've been very successful with our Palm Beach County reefs in attracting a lot of international press, which has brought a good amount of tourists throughout the state, country, and beyond, and then does provide a obviously valuable economic improvement and benefit. And that's just some of the benefits, as we previously mentioned, and some of the economic stats regarding core reefs in Southeast Florida alone. But we're very proud to show some of our progress on our reefs that I mentioned we currently have in Palm Beach County. This was some of the growth on some of the environmental beneficial and artistic reefs. One of the mermaids, you can't even make out her face anymore on the right-hand side because the early algae and benthic growth states are already being displayed at 9 to 12 months post-deployment, which is very encouraging since corals generally take a long time to grow and reach sexual maturity. These are very encouraging early stages that Stacy documented on a monitoring dive from between 9 and 12 months from our August 2019 initial deployment in Palm Beach County.
And then, yeah, I'm gonna take over from here. So, so of course, as we presented previously, our the Dania Beach 2021 project consists of 20 modular artificial reef underwater, and then it also includes selfie stations, 2 of those, as well as 2 land-based modules, and then also includes community engagement components, which is our Coral Rangers program. So on this slide here, top left, there's one module opportunity. That one has an interior sculpture, so that's something that that can be included with any of the components. So that's something to consider. And then bottom left here, the Dania logo can also be put on some of our modules as well. And then on the far right, that the top is our land-based selfie station, and the bottom right is the underwater selfie station as well. So you can keep that as a reference point.
Casey, what is the top left one? I can't quite make out. Is it a heart inside?
Yes, yeah, it's a heart inside. I have a larger photo later on, but yeah, that one has a heart inside of it, and that one actually was just deployed with our 52 module deployment that just happened in earlier this month, in the end of last month. So it's great to have that underwater now, actually. And then I was just reviewing a little bit about our citizen science program, some components and things that we can do with this program. Of course, we would love to have input on the different events that we're hoping to put through. We can have virtual components of these different things. We'd love to, of course, get people out and let them know what we're doing, get them interested, engaged in beach cleanups, dive cleanups, anything like that. And then, of course, going through what we're doing here with this project, why it's important, and then how they can be involved in future monitoring efforts. These are just some ideas I've had so far about different things we can do: virtual water quality, coral reef importance events. So we can do an Earth Day event. Of course, we'd like to do something in conjunction with the deployment, which we are projecting for June of 21, weather permitting. And then we also have post-deployment events also. So after the reefs are out there, we'd love, of course, to have people out engaged in taking their underwater selfies, letting people see what's going on as the project progresses, because of course the deployment is just the starting point. The really interesting part is seeing how the fish and other life interact and how things grow on the modules. So as I showed before, these are the underwater and above water selfie stations, like we call them. The above water selfie stations, we can put them wherever we'd like throughout the city. So we could even put them someplace temporarily, bring them out at events, move them around. So that's something to consider as we go through the process. We have a huge variety of sculpture options that we can incorporate within the project. All of these are renderings, or actually these are physical modules that have been created already. The top is of our first deployment site, 1000 Mermaids in Riviera Beach. The bottom is a combination of modules that were made, that went out with the last deployment, and other modules that Chris O'Hare with Reef Cells has put together for us. Like I said, we have land-based modules that the bottom left here now is that one with the heart in the center that you can probably see a little more clear. There's actually someone in there also, so that's how large this module is. And then you can see in the bottom right picture, at the front module there actually has a saying on it. So that's really where we could put in the Dania logo or anything else that anyone would like to include within the modules. Ocean-based modules, the bottom right modules are ones actually underwater at our 1000 Mermaids site. The one in the back side is a rendering. And then the one on the left is a rendering as well. So we can create a variety of different options. Site overview. This is the permitted zone where the county has authorized us to deploy. This is where the Dania Pier is in the top right. You can see where I've labeled that there because it's not easy to make out within any of the other photos. So you can actually see where we're projecting. This is just after the reef line. So the blue box is the actual projected deployment zone within this one. a map currently of what is on the permitted zone. There's already artificial reef out there. There's a lot of reef balls that are out there, which we'll be able to put our modules around. And then there's also mitigation zones from Port Everglades, as well as the Mount Dania and artificial reef. And this reef is actually being is a mitigation zone for a submarine grounding that happened, I believe, in the 90s. So, so anything we're doing here is incorporating additional reef to help offset what was damaged with the submarine grounding previously. There's a couple of different options with regards to the reef layout that we can incorporate. So we prefer for them to be kind of grouped together a little bit, but there is more of a linear option that we could do. But we would prefer to do options 1 or 2 within this, but of course the commission can have their input in this as well. So the 3 different options that we're discussing today are really with regards to the size, sculpture, and then the different swim through options that we have in option 1. And then we have large sculptures and smaller sculptures in option 2. And then in option 3 are really 5 medium-sized sculptures. So it's just to keep the quantity of materials about the same, but obviously there's a different varieties of things that we can do with the project, depending on what you would like the site to look like. So from a diverse perspective, what we feel our visitors would like to see, and that's kind of the process that we're working through. Would also remind everyone that the 5 sculptures that we're discussing in the options 1, 2, and 3 are in addition to 15 low profile modules, which are included. So the total of 20 modules includes these 5 also sculpture options. So the low profile modules that I'm discussing look similar to this. They might be a little bit different depending on if we decide that maybe some more shelf space or interstitial space might be more beneficial to the fish. But generally speaking, this is the low profile modules that we're discussing. And those are the 15 like we've talked about. And then I have a video of one of these modules at our new site, which was just deployed recently, which I'll show in a second. So these are the coral lock that are discussed within the low profile modules. These are incorporated into all of ours. The hope is that with the Dania, or with the Port Everglades mitigation, that we'll be able to bring some coral over that needs to be moved as part of the expansion and put them on to start incorporating coral onto these more quickly than does naturally. So that's what we're integrating these coral lock with the hope of that happening very soon. This is a rendering of what they kind of look like underwater. The low profile modules are grouped about 3 to 6 foot apart, depending on how the sand is in those locations. And then this is the video footage of the module. So the one on the far right is the low profile module. And then this is, I believe, about 3 weeks after the module was put down. So you can see already fish are very happy with it. They're very engaged in the module, and they really enjoy it. And then, like I said, this is before really anything is even grown on it. So, so it's very, very encouraging to see the fish interact with this like they are already. Like I said, option 1 is 3 swim through modules and 2 large sculpture. Could be something like the diver that's on the left-hand side, and then our large mermaid, which deployed recently, something similar to that. And then this is the swim through module that I'm referring to. This again is another video of the module that we just deployed recently. And then an option 2 would be something similar to the mermaid and diver again, but maybe instead we might incorporate the Dania logo onto one of the modules. Or we could put something like the turtle onto the low profile module with this option. So then we'd have really in effect 2 smaller turtles on the low profile modules, and then the Dania logo as well incorporated. Option 3 is similar to option 2, only in this one, we would probably have two, maybe a selfie tail station as well as a logo, and then maybe incorporate some of the smaller mermaids, like are on the bottom right photo, onto the lower profile modules, or maybe a turtle or something, whatever the commission would like. And that's really it. So those are kind of the options we're presenting today, and we would of course love to hear any questions you have or input that you have on it.
Commissioner Ottman.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for that presentation, Stacey. It's so exciting to see this this project move along. Questions for you. One, the logo. What is the logo made out of underwater? Is it made out of the same material as the reef, or is it something metal?
No, they would all be the concretes like that. What we can do is we can put some pigments in that would look like the color. There's also, I would say probably it would be better if we would do a cutout of the logo underneath the water, like we do with some of the other logos and things that we work with.
That's fine. So for me, my and as far as the grouping goes, I agree with you. The closer grouping is better. Option 2 is the one I like. I think anything but option 3. I don't like it linear. I like it kind of grouped. I imagine that would be very exciting to sort of swim around. And you know, I like the turtle and I like some of the other things, but for me, the whimsy that hooked me always the mermaids. So for me, that's key. I want to name. I'm not really keen on too many of the other things that I don't know. There's another one that looked like I'm not sure what it was supposed to be. But the mermaid station, the selfie station, I mean, to me, the underwater one and the above ground one, those are winners. You know, I can't imagine anyone's not going to want to grab an amazing picture by doing that. So those two, I love, 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 love. And so like for the options, how are we going? Maybe this is a question to you, Mayor. How are we determining which ones we're doing? How are we going to gain consensus on that? How would you like to move forward with that?
I would like to maybe, because it seems like there's going to be a lot of discussion and maybe questions on that, and we have a full agenda. So maybe if we can like kind of do a workshop, I think to answer a lot of the questions sooner rather than later, obviously, because we want to keep this rolling down the road. I think that would be my best suggestion, my recommendation.
Okay, I think that would be appropriate if we set up a workshop. If maybe we could have a couple of dates. City manager, if Chris could get in touch with Evans and Stacy, the team over there, and coordinate some dates for all of us, we could go. Because yeah, I probably have a couple of more questions that we could save for a workshop, and we can all discuss what our vision is and what we think will work out best.
And what we'll do is we'll send you all the presentation so you all have it, including the different options, and I'll have Chris work with you all for a workshop.
All right, that'll be wonderful, and I'll save the rest of my questions for that workshop. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Commissioner, Vice Mayor Salvino.
Yes, you know, just a couple quick things. I do understand the workshop would be handy for us newbies that are coming in. Just a couple questions on what I heard though. That's going to go about a mile out, just past the pier. What depth is that water out there?
It's about 40 to 45 feet.
Okay, so everybody that goes out, it's going to have tanks on. Have they considered putting anything in any closer where a free dive could go into place for some of the maybe people that it opens up to everybody else as well, so just the scuba divers?
Yes, well, free dive a day. So the visibility, the dive on both the videos that I showed, that's a 40-foot site also, and you can actually see the modules from the surface on a good visibility day. But unfortunately, right now, the permit zone allowable is that 45-foot in the mitigation area. We have discussed with the county the option and an option for doing a snorkel trail or something like that in the future, and we would love to do that. And it is something that we are working through with the county currently.
Just one more question, then I won't, I'll do the rest of the workshop. What keeps them in place if that water's so churned up out there? Because, you know, as you can see, our beach is already eroded for the last storm we had, and we have no beach again. And I saw on there that it helps prevent erosion and so on. And I'm sure that we're going to be working with the state again as far as more sand back in there. But, you know, we can talk about that more and how it can help us again. But I'd like to know, that's one of my questions that'll come up at the workshop.
So they have a nice ballasted base. So the bases or the whole modules are at a minimum of 1,700 pounds, and some are as large as 3,500 pounds.
Okay.
So they're all large enough. And said the current 2 zones that we have in West Palm Beach right now, they're very little movement, even through the storm Dorian that went through, which was very big wave height, a large wave height, and a lot of currents. So we're very confident that they will stay put.
I'd be interested in, I'm looking forward to the workshop. I think it'd be fun. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner Davis, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Stacy and Evan, for the wonderful presentation. And I will save my detailed questions for the workshop as well. I just wanted you to be able to bring some more information about the Coral Rangers program, because I think it's really important about the beach cleanup and educating our public about, you know, everybody taking responsibility, bring as much information as possible to that workshop. I greatly appreciate it.
And would you like for me to, or would you like for us to also include the timeline so we can start discussing those potential events as well at that meeting?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Evan?
And just in closing, the kit do serve as public art, and they are a good way for us to raise awareness. And we, before you joined the commission, Commissioner Davis, had discussed potentially adding some of those land-based modules in front of City Hall during Dania After Dark, potentially on the pier, to help people that might not necessarily dive, at least become aware of it, raise awareness, take a photo, learn more, so on and so forth. So I'm very glad City of Dania discussing public art, and we're glad to contribute to those efforts as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Evan. Thank you, Stacy and Evan. Look forward to
Thank you, guys.
soon.
Cheers. Keep up the good work.
COVID update by our Commissioner Ottman.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So a lot of this you all, commissioners, will be familiar with. We've seen the reports, and we've been getting those. For those of you who are just coming onto the commission, maybe some of this will be a little bit new for some of you. But this is also primarily for the residents who are, you know, always looking to us to bring them the information about where we are and where the city is going in terms of COVID. So as of today, we have 800. This is today's number, not the end of week, not of the end of week number. The number for today, 833 people in 33004 have contracted coronavirus. So that is one. Remember, residents being those who identified on their test that they live in Dania Beach. Within City Hall, we have 10 employees that have reported testing positive for coronavirus since March. So that's 1 in every 16 employees. So if it's the same rate they have over this past week, you can expect that we'll have about 73 new cases added by next week. Keep in mind that our area codes are 3304, 12, 14, and 16. So the data is primarily a lot of the different things you're looking at is always going to be pulled from 004. The data that we used for this came from 33004, and we can extrapolate on that to sort of about what that overall number is for Dania Beach, and that it most likely, given what surrounds us to the north in Fort Lauderdale and to the south in Hollywood, is at least somewhat higher. Is our curve This shows where we've been uh, up until now. I would say pay attention. If you just looked at that last part there, you're going to see how it's gone up rather steeply, which you'll see pretty much parallel to what we're seeing in Broward. So we're just going to take a look from October 1st. We're going to take about a month's look back. We started off at 583 cases, and that was an increase of 5.4%. The week following that, 645. The week following that, 672. The week following that, 738, which brings us to the most recent end of week, which is 803, the latest, the official number for the end of week, which was an 8.8% increase from the week previous. So if you look at those numbers, the percentage, you're probably familiar with this graphic. This is something that we get for Broward. This is the Broward graphic. I know many of you share it on your social media, and it's quite helpful because while we like to take a look at what's happening in Dania Beach specifically, most of us don't live and work and do everything just in Dania Beach. We're roaming around Broward County, or in Palm Beach County. See that overall things have started to go up. In conjunction with these rising numbers that we're seeing, we're also just about in the peak part of flu season. So flu season, December through February, part where we're going to be seeing it. We're having what they're identifying as a, I'm going to propose that may have something to do with perhaps people aren't going out to their physicians or to the hospital. That's just my hypothesis, but that it is actually not a less active season, but that there's perhaps less testing going on. So you have that going on in concurrence with the coronavirus peak. Along with that, you also have the rhinovirus season, cold season, and that's been happening as well. It's been around, but it's starting to peak as well. So you have the culmination of all these things and making people feel rather miserable and leaving them to wonder during the holiday season, do I go see my family? Do I go see my friends? Because I have symptoms, I have a cough, and is it the cold? Is it the flu? Is it COVID? I'm not really sure. So we've all been doing into our heads, and I think we've all been doing it, gently clean our hands, and that's now in our head. So while we're waiting, we're right on that cusp where we're going to be getting even more information about what this vaccination for COVID rollout is going to look like for Florida. We're going to be getting that information the next 2 to 4 weeks. We'll start getting a better idea. But in the meantime, what can we do? So if you haven't gotten your flu shot yet, we had a really successful a few weeks ago. It's not too late. You can still get your yearly flu shot. Depending on what age you are and what other factors, health factors you have, a pneumococcal vaccine might be appropriate. So you can consider avoiding work events, which are fundamentally social gatherings. If you must take pictures, and I'm guilty of this myself, to venture out after being indoors for so long, we get excited to see our friends, to see our residents. Sometimes we end up taking a picture much closer than we should. And this is perhaps the most important part of this. As our medical resources are being stretched more and more with every week, consider the ways in which your daily activities increase your risk for using state and local resources that should be reserved for very, very sick people. So those resources I'm talking about, the blood banks, the hospital beds, the waiting room chairs, now at low availability in the hospital, all those things, because maybe we went out to Publix to go get an avocado and we hurt ourselves, we fell. Well, now we're taking up the resources. We have to go, we have to get an x-ray, things like that. When you have these patients that have a stroke or cardiac arrest, overdoses, car accidents that are with a lot of trauma in it, those resources should be going to those people. Educated with COVID right now, but we're looking at the bigger picture of everything we need to be thinking about beyond that while we're waiting for the vaccine and while we're getting to the place where we're really feeling like we're making a turn. Share with you guys, hopefully a lot of those numbers are familiar with them. But otherwise, we will continue to be putting out at the city manager as well, getting that information.
Thank you. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Ottman. I don't see anyone's hands up, but I do want to, I'm not sure if the task force is still meeting or what have you, but I definitely would like someone from this commission to be involved with the conversations that are surrounding COVID and when we're speaking about, City Hall and our commission and the chamber, to have someone that sits from the board to act for us and bring us back those updates. I'll be working with the city manager to solidify something of that nature. So thank you. We have our public services director to have a presentation on our stormwater projects, the new proposed ones, in addition to the ones that were funded. I'm really excited to see this with everyone. It doesn't matter if you live on the east or the west or the north or the south, but we all have faced this unprecedented rain. And I know that it's just a tale of what's to bring us back something that can help those other areas.
Thank you, Mayor James. Good evening, Fernando Rodriguez, Director of Public Services. I wanted to say hello and say good evening to the commissioners as well, city manager, administration, and all the colleagues. Happy holidays to everyone as well. We're going to present this together. Dean and myself will review 7 drainage projects. It's a fairly short presentation, but there are 2 parts to it. The first part, I will begin by going in our CIP plan, our capital improvements plan, funded and in motion. Many of you may be aware of these projects. We've talked about a commission meeting on October 27th recently. The second part, where Deputy Dinser Osaidin will handle, is going to be proposed drainage projects. They're not in our CIP, so it's more like a proposal to go ahead and get the design phase of them started as a result of 2 rain events that we endured in the middle part of October and then into the early part of November with tropical storm. The second part of a 2-part event where we probably got close to 11 inches of rain in a matter of 1 month. And it really became evident that we have some issues, some challenges in some of these areas of the city. So that generated those 3 projects that Deputy Osaidin will go over. These first 2 projects, again, is part of a group of 4. 43rd Southwest 43rd Terrace is a project that is in the design phase, and it will it's again in our CIP plan. I will include drain inlets and catch basins that will be added as well as pipes. Also, we're going to have to regrade the road a little bit to be able to better pitch the water into the storm drain inlets, and we'll need to modify some of the swales to improve drainage. The project itself is about $2 million, is the approximate cost of the construction. To complete this project by mid to late summer of next year. So we will aim for that date based on the progress of the project at the current time. The second project is a little smaller. It's at the Ocean Park parking lot. The flooding there generally occurs on the north end of the lot, and we've all seen it even with moderate rains. And this project will involve drainage inlets and pipes in the parking lot that will connect to the outfalls that are already there to the canal to the west of the lot. And also tidal valves will be installed, high tides and king tides, particularly from coming back up the pipes and into the parking lot. This project is in the design phase, and we anticipate, or our goal is to complete it by May, June, so a little bit in the early summer period. Cost of the project is considerably less than the first one. It's 200,000 approximately for construction. Moving on to the next slide, the Dania Cove drainage improvement. We've all, seen what happens over there by the park on Southwest 25th Avenue. This is also in the design phase and pretty much ending the design phase at the end of it. And it will involve adding pipes and inlets. And the key to the design on this one is going to connect the incoming water from the inlet across the roadway east to the new retention pond in the park. So we're confident it will work very well. We have to regrade the roadway and make some way approaches on that one. So it's a little bit more sensitive there, but we already have spoken to the residents involved, and everything is going well with that regrading as far as the design. The cost of the project is about $200,000, and we believe we can complete this project by mid-year of 2021. Now, the last project you see up on the right side is our largest one, the most complicated one, is much bigger in scope, and we're talking about a project that will probably begin the design. Will start probably in February. There's been a little bit of a delay because it is tied to a surtax grant, and the county is first looking at shovel-ready projects. They are putting less priority on the design phase projects, which we are in the design phase. But we have been pushing very hard. I want to thank the entire team, the entire PSD team, and some of our colleagues, of course, in the legal department in Dania, and our county counterparts. We think we can start the design in February. This project will encompass, it's going to be bounded by Southeast 3rd Street all the way up to Southeast 7th, and then on the east and west boundaries, Southeast 2nd Avenue to the west, to 5th Avenue on the east. 140 acres or so will be impacted, or will be improved, and it's going to involve injection wells going deep into the ground, exfiltration trenches, and some pump stations. So it's a pretty involved project. About 9 to 10 million to construct, and given the timelines that we've kind of put together in February, we think we can complete the project by the early spring or 8 months. It's a very complicated design. We're trying to, again, they're very in size and complexity. They are in our CIP plan. If there are no questions on this four, I will hand it over to Deputy Director Dinser, who will discuss 3 new proposed projects, not in the CIP, and we'd like to get approval to go into the design phase with these 3 projects if there are no questions on these first 4.
Okay, Commissioner Ottman, do you want to wait?
The one.
Right. Okay, mine as well. Commissioner Llewellyn?
Yes, I may have missed it. The Southwest 45.
That's probably the construction by mid to late summer of next year.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
Go
Any other
ahead.
questions? No? Okay, Dinser, take it away.
Thank you so much, Fernando. Again, that we are going to add 3 more projects. The first one is Southwest 34th Terrace Drainage Project, which is next to Griffin Road. Adjacent. Southwest 34th Terrace has substantial flooding even high tide periods. So as you can see in the picture, as you can see the pictures, they're going to go back again. As you can see on the pictures, there is a lot of terrible flooding on the left and in the middle. But we have a short-term solution. Short-term solution is install tidal valves. What the tidal valves is going to do is basically when there is a king tide or high tide, the water doesn't get into the pipes and get out from the catch basins and flood the street. Right corner, you see the tidal valves. That's the short-term solution. Long-term solution, we are going to install pipes with catch basins, regrade the roadway, and restore the swales. And approximately $1.2 million.
That's with both solutions combined?
Yes.
Okay.
And the second project is Southwest 37th Terrace Drainage Project.
roadway has been flooding even with the moderate rain. This is a little bit different than the first one because what happened is that if you look at in the middle, X gallons represent and Y gallons represent flow coming from the entrance of the 37 Terrace by the Sterling Road, and Z gallons represents the direct. What happened is that the area floods, you see it on the picture, with catch basin, restore swales, regrade the roadway. Of course, that when we restore the swales, some tree removal is luckily needed, and design cost is about $115,000, and the construction cost will be $1.2 million. With this project, keep in mind that we are not only adding pipes on the low elevation, we are adding pipes on the high elevation so we can keep the rainwater in those areas so it doesn't flow to the low elevation. So
did you have a question about the previous slide? Would this include the cul-de-sac on Southwest 37th Terrace?
Yes. That flow into the low elevation goes to the cul-de-sac because that's the lowest elevation.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And the next one is Southwest 40th Avenue Drainage Project. Roadway floods when there is a heavy rain, which is further exacerbated during the high tide periods. With this one, same thing that we are going to install a tidal valves. We are going to 40th Avenue, 54 Court, and 52nd Street, regrade the roadways and restore the swales, and also that connect to outfall. So design cost for this project is about $240,000, and construction cost is about $2.5 million. So total, these three projects cost us design-wise about $500,000, and we are planning to have it in this fiscal year. If you have any questions, Fernando, our director, and I, deputy director, can answer.
The three additional projects.
Design cost is about $500,000.
What about construction?
Construction is about $5 million.
Okay.
37th Terrace back area, is that an area that needs to be raised?
What happened is that instead of raising that area, because there are some homes there, we're gonna basically work with the high. So we're gonna change the grade, and we're gonna add the swales at the catch basins, so the high elevation keep the rainwater in their site, and low elevation we're gonna add catch basins and pipes so they can take the rainwater. So regrading, adding pipes, and changing the flow, basically rainfall.
For that specific project, what's the timeline for that?
It usually takes about 6-7 months to get the approval from the Broward County and complete the design, and then we will start the construction next fiscal year. We can start the construction next fiscal year.
And the construction is about roughly how long for this kind of project? For this
Usually, of traffic, as you may know, that there's a one-way in, and that's a very narrow area. So we will have to give an access to the residents all the time. And that's a challenging thing. That's why it's a little bit longer.
Great. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Commissioner Llewellyn?
Yes. So again, I'm going to ask about timelines. I know 9 phase is finished, but for the construction, but once approved or 3 projects, because there are 3 very major projects.
Absolutely. Again, that our goal is complete all these projects and design in this fiscal year, and our goal is that one by one completed calendar year 2022. Wanted to complete about 9 months each.
Okay, so we're looking at going through one more hurricane season, and then after that, hopefully,
that we're gonna install the tidal valves. So we're gonna be, it's gonna be, we're gonna have to be real quick.
And then I know there was another issue, which I don't see on as a project here, and it may not be a project for us. It may be something that has to be dealt with the county. There was an issue with the pumping station there, and there was an issue with sewers overflowing. That can be worked on with the county to resolve that.
Flooding events that overwork. Normally, lift station works 3 to 5 hours. Our lift station works 24 hours during those times. And what happens is that that's why they bet advertising to install 9 new lift stations. So we are going to change all of them. We're going to start design. So it's going to help us because we have the old lift station to pump. So in
One of the issues was that we had to wait for the county. Nobody seemed to be able to get an answer from you on the county to pay their portion of it. But if it's something that we can fix, I would be very happy if we could get that moved along, because the last thing we want is human waste running down the streets.
absolutely, we can definitely contact the county.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. It has to do with piggyback on Commissioner Llewellyn. You know, I was just curious how these sites were picked, and then something like Southwest 28 Terrace by PJ Mealy was missed. You know, that the roads over there, when they were repaved, they went into PJ Mealy and to the south and around the corner. And when it rains and it goes all the way down to the very end of 28 Terrace, floods those last 4 or 5 houses out, and the water goes nowhere and it sits there. And I mean, I know it's only 3 or 4 or 5 houses compared to the whole streets that you're doing up, and the pumps are not working, and the feces was all the other places at least don't have feces floating around. Look at least, you know, they're proposing some kind of a drainage facility area, and that maybe a little bit further south on 28 Terrace, because that water just rolls in there like it's a torrent. I sat there and watched it, and then the pumps weren't working, and the place stunk for 4 or 5 days.
What happened is that there are areas that floods. Definitely, I agree with you, and we're gonna work harder to find those areas that it's in our database. What happens that these were the worst areas for the last 2 rain events. Immediate action was needed, but the others, there are more areas that floods. That's there in our list. Definitely, we're gonna.
Not as big as a flooding area zone, but if we have feces floating down the street and lays there for 3 or 4 days, that's a problem. That's a health issue, and it has to do with as much. I know you can't do all the projects, but I'm asking you to worrying event we have, and possibly only the street will get a little bit underwater. We'll work on that on the next project. Thank you.
Absolutely.
We'll do that, Vice Mayor. We will. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. And last, my only other question, there is a Southeast Park Road, I believe. They were under, not sure if anything could be, it's sort of that road that comes, what is that behind there? Where Chicky used to stay? I can't think of it right now. Oh gosh.
Southeast Park Road, right?
Southeast Park Road, and the area where the Chase Bank used to sit. So over there by Ideal, those are also 2 other roads. I'll send it to you. Next, we have a special event approval, South Florida Holiday Show on November 28th and 29th at Dania Point from 7 to 10 p.m. City Manager, do we have any issues with this?
No, it was an outstanding event, and we just wanted, it was a wonderful event. And Kim Butler present.
Okay. Within the project coming up, I know I received a few phone calls over the past weekend regarding noise, that they can hear it all the way by C.W. Thomas Park. So I just want them to be mindful of the noise ordinance that we have. I did receive a few phone calls. I sent a text out to Danny. I know we have a substation. There are events that they stay within the noise ordinance.
Team, and also my manager's report, we would be for the substation to be operational. So we're excited about that too.
Awesome. Do you need a ratified approval for this?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have a motion in a second?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have to host a Cars at the Point event on the 3rd Sunday, beginning December 20th, and at 8 p.m. I'm not sure if anyone have enforced COVID procedures with.
Eleanor will be able to speak to you on number 8. I just want to make sure that we wrap.
I skipped one. Okay, let's do number 8 since we're on it. Then.
So Eleanor will be able to update you is in ensuring that everything regarding our noise ordinance. One of the reasons at Dania Point, which in turn, they end up ordering businesses a little bit more in this really challenging. And now we'll add the noise component to make sure that they're.
Yeah, I can just add to that. I actually was at this. I mean, it was, people were conscious of it. Everybody was wearing masks. It's an outdoor event. And I know the county and this is outdoors and it's in a very good location because it's right up along the Highway of Firm there. And it seemed very safe to me when I was there.
We can do the ratification of the
Motion to approve.
all right. 3.8. The car is at the point.
Aye.
One opposed.
Hi, Commissioner. Hi. Good. What was the question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Planning to the cars at the point. How are they planning? Seems to be cars at the point. To me, it seems to be as community leaders and what we're promoting.
Aware they will have a check-in station. They'll be providing mapping. So they will be self-monitoring themselves, but we'll also have code.
Make sure they also monitor the noise.
Yes. So I will definitely talk to Kim and address that issue with you.
The city attorney. Is there a legal special events? Because I mean, unless there's like a major issue with it, approve everything anyway. And I don't know if it's just one of those things that we've always.
This has been based on a special event ordinance that's evolved over different events that affected neighborhoods, and therefore they ended up with a couple of years. Now, you'll recognize it almost every meeting we have. By the time it gets to you, and it's routinely a special event ordinance, and perhaps convert most of this so it's needed to protect the neighborhoods. And it wouldn't really have to come to the commission a review and approval at a public hearing. So one thing we're thinking about doing for the events that operate under what are called design development guidelines, which is basically there's virtually all the events that they do over there. And by buttoning them up so that the noise is addressed, the police will not be an issue because they will be approved by the staff. Staff has no comments to the police. So we should re-examine it.
And the reason why I ask is because it's a different situation and there are different things that we have to look at with that, but it's still supposed to, in order to get the permits that they need, in order to get they've had to wait a period of time and plan. Still want us to become more of a bureaucracy and make it more things here today that we're ratifying because they were already done. It just seems a little antiquated. That's all.
Yes. Can you hear me? Event too that was recently submitted and hopefully ratified as well. It's from every Sunday, and they'd like to begin this December out of compliance, I guess. So they're asking if I could just the departments. There's no concerns, there's no issues, but once again, there's only the event and let you guys know.
Events. I mean, I see two here that we're ratifying, and we have another thing wrong with us ratifying. Like, what happens if someone had an event? Anyone's able to kind of have events and then come to us. To me, if it didn't come to the commission, would it still have to have a permit administrative level, correct?
That's correct. They would still have to go through the permit process. So that was very successful. If by any chance, then those are the things that we need to address. That we would need to come to you and let you know we've been, maintaining a certain degree. When we get a concern, we go back, and if that concern is Dania Point or any of the other establishments, things have been going.
Eleanor, did you want to add anything or?
Require for these events, and we are sharing any comments and can monitoring it.
Okay, thank you so much. Stephen Locke, I know we're on the last meeting. Come and speak. Just for the record, you have 3 minutes. Yeah. Okay, we'll go to Pastor.
Can you all hear me?
We can. Please state your name.
Third Street here in Dania Beach. Congratulations to you, Mayor James, Sister Joyce, and our returning to commission to lead our great city. I'm hearing in terms of how things are working, some disagreements as we commission who's leading our great city will find common. May the wind of God be at your backs.
Next, I saw Marcos Coric, your hymn. Okay. We'll bypass items before we go to the public safety reports. But a number of you're there. I haven't forgotten about you. I will call your name.
Right, starting the video here. Are causing loud music and activated. and that way it's all captured when on. Is it on there? There we go. Participating in a Christmas event on Tuesday, December 5th, Wonderland. It's going to be held at the Public Safety Building to reflect a winter theme. It should be really neat. We've been collecting and donating a bunch of toys that our children were selected to attend the event. Vehicles. We currently have 9 active cases, but we hope to have them in custody soon. Last night, a search warrant for a residence located on Evans Street. Bottles of promethazine syrup, a Tech 9 automatic handgun, and a Glock 27 40 cal, some $60 in U.S. currency, and money counters. As for our staff, an aggravated battery, 2 auto thefts, 2 burglary residences, 2 motor vehicle thefts, of 29 arrests, some of which are included in those. The prayers and phone calls and text messages are truly affected by this virus that's out there. Thank you.
There you go.
Right now.
I can see you now.
Okay, good evening, Beach. Like I always start my your house if we need to, and come to your house. They're taking care of themselves, so they can take care of you. The Black Friday and Saturday. So the Sheriff Tony appointed Candace retired, so we have a new fire chief, Greg Holness, and I'm sure with that, that's all I have for tonight. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
No questions from me or any of the public comments. I may say your name wrong. 3 minutes.
Hello there. The name is Kayri Potter.
For the record, please.
Awesome. Kayri Pozo at 4.
Awesome. Go ahead.
All of you guys, just in regards to as how this figuring everything out, and I definitely want to be a part of the city and whatever the resident building for, I guess, low income and the senior parking. And I kind of tried to them or who else I can speak to about that. So she kind of told me to go to you guys some information, but the parking and her looked at the site plan and those spots weren't on the site.
Okay. As far as site plan or code, I'm not the subject. City Attorney, can you help us out?
Muted.
Okay.
Inconsistencies.
Awesome. Right. Well, completely true. Or again, who else I can go to? But we issue during the day. She can have her parking. There's plenty of parking during the day. I try to ask her to adjust the times. Nobody wants to get their car towed. So now we have people parking on our park there. So it's a sanitary issue as well.
Zoning department to see if there's an approved site plan, if they're not, either a hearing at planning and zoning or even at the commission. But that would be an issue, and it would need to be first addressed.
And to answer those questions, especially with the site plan and the parking, because and I'll have her get back with you. All right.
Meeting for the community, the management team hasn't been able to have this out just in case.
Okay, I'll contact you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We have a motion.
Motion to approve.
You can approve the rest of 7 and 8.
7 and 7.8. Got it.
Second.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, repealing Article 10 entitled Miscellaneous and repealing Code Section 17-30 entitled Smoke Free Effective Date. First reading. This is an ordinance I'm bringing to you to read for parks and park areas. The state then preempted or took a matter of repealing an ordinance that can no longer be enforced.
You have a second?
Now? They've been able to smoke in parks for a number of years, enforced because we can't enforce it. I'm not pulling it off the code because we.
Is there anything other cities have done? You know everything about parks, like in a park area? Because I got to tell you, rent next to my kid, I'm probably going to lose my job here. So taking away ashtrays, putting up
has been the thing that I have seen. areas, particularly playgrounds and tot lots where kids are playing. Innovative signage that informs people about the day incorporate in the different city facilities and parks.
A thing, you know, where that there's some, at least some good data would hopefully be behind that.
I've seen a few signs at other cities that could get a fine or there's going to be penalty, but it kind of just puts it out there, like right there when you walk into the park, when you see that, like, oh gosh, you can't smoke here. But it's Eve. I know Eve wants to chime in.
Working for the beaches. Thank you for not smoking. Again, it's not manipulate that and use that for the parks as well. Miami Beach also just, and they couldn't, so they did a similar campaign. As what
second for this item?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Second.
Ordinance. This is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, repealing of Article 9, also entitled On-Site Shopping Cart System. The regulation of shopping carts has been preempted by the state, providing for presented to the commission some years ago. Subsequently, the state legislature, federation, took away the cities and the counties' rights to make us owner of the different stores and for them to pick them up, or we would take them and pound them. So it's to repeal something we can no longer use. Okay, thank you.
All right. Bids and requests for
contracts in the primary, secondary, and tertiary service respectively, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Do we have a
Yes.
Commissioner Llewellyn,
Yes.
Commissioner Raro.
And 8.2 is a companion resolution of the City Commission of the City Area Service Provider categories to Bergeron Emergency Services for an effective date.
Move the item.
All right, now to the fun stuff. Public hearings, 9.1.
Tree protection overlay under the city's land development code, the LDC of Dania Beach, to create a zoning overlay for the general vicinity of the residence stretching from Sterling Road north for approximately 1,280 Lydia, Florida, which property is legally described in Exhibit A, a copy of which is the unique oak hammock forest communities subject to certain restrictions.
All right, before we start, just want a couple minutes. If you wish to extend your time, someone else can give their time to only do that 2 times for the meeting tonight, or to allow residents to go over their time. So we're going to start off with Stephen Kaufman.
Mayor, if I can, 1 second, if I can, the people from the community in a two virtual meetings. One of which would cover all 3 streets of Harger Hills. More importantly, was taking trees down for trimming or removal that is no longer on site during any of those activities.
Sure, if Steve's iPhone, please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Name is Steve. So the only thing I'd like to say is I definitely support this amendment. There's so many years, there's no other neighborhood so beautiful with the trees that we all understand that if the trees are damaged, if they're dead, yes, it's incomprehensible to anyone who lives there that there's a very, very, very good, healthy reason. Thank you.
I am also in support of the amendment, Wooden Lane, and that is in Dania Beach, Florida, 33331, and we love it. And I just wanted to add one thing. I know that they're children, but we had all 3 of our kids in this house, and they're in the neighborhood. So we are definitely in support.
Right, next up, we have Gabriella Hirschman. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
And I also am very much in favor of this ordinance. I live in mind. It is truly unique and breathtaking. Proposed projects. I can see that taking down these trees and what's been going on, personal disappointment. It's ecological. My children, 3 giant oak trees were destroyed. True danger, not one that someone has paid an arborist to say. Going down to the Coral Gables and telling them to remove their trees. I think it behooves the city to take a drive down here and enjoy these, because it's one of a kind. It makes Dania Beach unique.
Thank you very much, Mayor. My name is Elias Pachachi. I also live in Philly. I also want to thank you for allowing us to support the oak by this ordinance were purchased prior to the state legislative responsibilities, requirements, and actions that were onto the homeowners that didn't exist previously. It's just protected. The financial burden therefore no financial burden should exist to the homeowners. Did everything in their power to stop the trees from being cut. Empty lot could be a danger to a person or we're ill. Have a picture, I'm not sure if you can see. To vote for this ordinance in order to provide proper oversight and protect written Florida law. Thank you, everybody.
You have two papers here, so I'm assuming one is for the record, and you will have 3 minutes each.
Okay, my name is Ann, 5901 Southwest 36th Terrace. Nature, the feeling of security, and most importantly, the sense of community. They're timeless, they're elegant, they bring a regal presence and a feel cause. One particular story that came to my mind was when Rabbi Larice realized that one of my trees did look suspicious and it kept bothering me. Again, investigating the condition of each tree on our property, following the necessary and labeled as dangerous, sickly, and hazardous, possessing the worst kind of mushrooms a tree. Furthermore, if they're not taken care of, they can affect and spread to other healthier trees, if but when it'll fall down. So by taking the trees down, my husband and I protection of their homes. Having said that, we're a very private family. On the same day that I was comforting my mother-in-law while she was mourning the death of her, as well as other important officials being called, no consideration was even made. Although the same consideration was not bestowed upon me, I would like to keep their names. This hypocrisy makes me wonder if this is truly about the love of trees, for the peace and privacy of anyone's life. My kids were looking forward to moving saddened by the behaviors of those who put the welfare of dead, hazardous trees. Can I have his time?
Wait. Ital, and then she could take your time. All right, you have 3 more minutes.
To those who were protesting by trees that were taken down, I could never ever live with myself if I allowed myself to keep us abreast of this situation. I apologize for the distress the protesters have. Peace. You should consider first your lack of proprieties and the outcome it will bring. Conservation of the trees. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. All the city officials, all the police that I've been in contact with, all those that don't know yet, my wife and I are the owner of that empty lot of the 7. Had News 10 come onto our property, taking video of it, and that went onto the property as well. All those trees that have been cut down are professional arborists who said that they are a danger, they can come down at any time. In regard to the ordinance, I pay property taxes. If you don't want people taking down trees on their own properties, well, I have my own property. It is, we expect to keep it very what I can do on my own private property. Thank you everyone for your attention.
Thank you. 3 minutes.
Eagle Case Circle, Coconut Creek, Florida, and climate and the issue that's going on. And
it's kind of all or nothing.
Okay, then I will speak because heard and what I saw was number one, 1,000 mermaids, which is fabulous. Mr. Rodriguez talk about stormwater. Also, trees. I know trees are one part of dealing with the issue needs to be addressed in order to fight the fact that Tallahassee is preempting so many, and I literally was nauseated in my seat here. And I'm sorry, I know we're here to talk about the tree ordinance. I am in support of the option in Tallahassee. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Record, you have 3 minutes.
Hi.
I have them come on the record and state their name and address.
Dividing this up, it sort of flows.
Can you wait to who speaks?
It up.
No, you can speak for 3 minutes, and then when the 3 minutes come, address for the record.
Okay. My name is Electees. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight in strong support. Is my video? Let me put my video on. I'm sorry. Can you sing the Florida statute, which allows them to hire arborists to say they're doing this for several reasons: to avoid getting a permit removal or to circumvent working with the city to try to avoid unnecessary damage. My question for those opposed to this ordinance is, give that up because you think your decision only affects you. The action irreparably and forever. What? Now, for those of you who question whether tree removal leads to my house for 32 years, through many hurricanes and tropical storms, across the street from each other on my block, major trees, like us, the taxpayers, a great deal of money. It also demonstrates the street for 2 days. And now listening to this meeting, I hear that the city, that for something that's never
occurred before. The trees in the tree canopy not only help prevent street and property flooding treatment for the city, well, I'll tell you, trees are pretty remarkable once so fast, causing rivers of flooding water.
Deputy, state your name and address for the record.
Terrace, Pembroke Pines, and I'm in favor of this ordinance.
Have the next person yield at the same time so I don't have to keep stopping.
Go ahead.
Canopy does a great job of slowing the flow of water so that it doesn't hit the gutters. The bark absorbs water and slows the flow to the ground, and micropolitan areas of Florida intercept an estimated annual stormwater treatment costs. Again, our taxpayer dollars. Urban Canopy in Dania Beach saves the city, our city, I'm sorry, I keep getting a message like in front of this. Person or developer does on their property affects the entire community around because it is unique and irreplaceable. In addition to helping with and storm protection, counters heat island effects, combats global property values, and creates a sense of community, all in addition to being. Therefore, I am again asking the commissioners to support this ordinance and recognize that given the state preemption law, this ordinance is already very much have been spread about the ordinance. For example, many of those opposed to the ordinance from removing hazardous trees or limbs. The state preemption law overrides the code. I did that myself when I had 2 completely dead oak trees along the street would require, prevents them from becoming dangerous in the first place, if, or more likely when, we are hit by a large hurricane. Again, in actuality, for most of us and the city, it will taxes for dealing with stormwater and sea level rise mitigation will be less because we will be living in a more aesthetically pleasing, calmer, quieter, or developer does on their property affects the entire community that is consistent with preserving the oak hammock ecosystem and the beauty. Since it's not possible to make changes on one property that do not, if everybody watched that WPLG piece, at the end threatened him, but somebody who's against the ordinance threatened because I really care about this community. I love the trees.
Can you give me the other person that yielded their time to you? Stephanie?
Sure.
Steeler next. I don't see Elaine on the meeting call. We'll move along to Randy. I have 2 Randys here. So could you please state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, Randy Wright. Just a quick note that I support this that have beautiful trees in them, incorporated into Jim Rizzo.
Okay, okay. Pat Wright, could you state your name and address for the record?
To give all my time to Jim Rizzo.
Okay, go ahead, Jim. Please state your name.
To be letting me start my video, says the Vice Mayor time, but one is in support of the ordinance before you, 3.045. I've heard opponents that has some appeal to me too. I kind of like what we want with our property. What we do with our property, we have a whole department for code enforcement. So of course the city has a right. So then it's only just a matter of which. I'm in favor of giving property owners a fair. I had a friend over to my house last night for a porch visit. He just went on and on about how beautiful the overhanging trees are now that I've lived in this neighborhood. But then without saying a word about what's going on here, he just commented on how beautiful the resident understands the protection needed for these trees for the city to vote for this ordinance. For a fair amount this evening and heard about some really cool natural public art designed and nurtured by God. Achieves many of the same objectives and benefits that we heard as the other projects that were discussed. No capital expenditures. Now, concerning the state statute, government may not require a notice, an application, approval, per the property owner, number one. And third, the documentation of a person's or property. Those are the 3 elements that give government. I've heard people say people cutting the trees down because of the state statute. They say the state statute gives them the. People have come to think that the state statute gives them any time. That's not what the state statute says, not at all. Did not recently in the last even week, they were not a danger. They did not present a danger. These trees were.
6 minutes.
Oh, Pat Wright gave me her 3. No, Randy Wright gave 3. Pat Wright, his wife, gave 3.
How many seconds one person speaks and do the multiplication of?
Basically, I'm finished, so that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
25 years, moved here because of the oak trees. I am in favor of. I'm sorry that we made you personally feel bad. To love your neighbor as yourself. Part of each other. Unfortunately, I believe that you were told a lie by. I've lived with oak trees for 40 years. They was ever damaged this house. And so did several trees. Problem lie. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How are you? My wife is going to yield her time to me. Do you want her to stay?
5861 Southwest 36 Terrace.
6 minutes.
Sure, Rabbi Laredo, 5861 Southwest 36. 2 hours and 45 minutes is a long time, but I'm kind of happy to see all the amazing. And thanks for your patience on this specific matter. I know it may be a little strenuous. I know a large number of neighbors. Many of them are going to speak on end. This may be the 3rd or 4th or 5th meeting even that goes on for hours and hours. So what I want to present is that I feel like our 3 streets are being. It is very, very hurtful. When other neighbors on this city there's oak hammocks all over the place, so close as just around the corner from our area. Many of the neighbors is that this was like 2 or 3 neighbors who were campaigning when COVID hit, and all the city managers and commissioners and everybody to slow minority. To which my next point is as you can tell by the petitions we provided, the vast majority for any street in the entire city, especially not the first stuff picking our blocks, but if it does or want this, like what stops whoever wanted this ordinance? I would say that ordinance 825 is definitely sufficient. I agree. Maybe the city. I want to read the state issue, a state law, which I may or may not agree if it was written well. It doesn't matter. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a rabbi. Point very clear. Thank you very much, Tom. Everyone should maybe to imposing greater ordinances and landscaping ordinances and trying to go a loophole to try to impose extra ordinances, costs, aggravate trees. But you cannot keep on saying, residents cannot keep on saying all over Dania Beach. We moved here for location. As you know, on the Sabbath, we don't drive well, but we did not move here for the trees. Another thing is that the trees have been there for 100 to 200 be removed. It's sick. It could be dangerous to our property. It could be dangerous that I had to remove a tree, but proudly that I removed it because I put that first. So you've been living here 20 years, a lot more to say. But anyways, the idea with the flooding, the city I encourage all of the commissioners to vote no, please, not to impose. Say they want to support this ordinance. They don't even live on our streets. Don't consider people who do not live on these 3 streets to vote for this. The idea of threats, and this has caused a great division. I feel horrible, but I was driving. I stopped and I said, is that really what you want to do? And they did it again in my face. And I said, if that makes God forbid on any damage, illness, or death. But anyways, that's my piece. I could go on and on. You guys are all bless you guys. So, bless you. You know how rabbis bless. They don't stop, right?
No, I'm going to say record.
I'm in strong support of this ordinance. I'm going to have Natalia Faleco.
What did you say her name was?
Natalia Faleco.
Is she on
Southeast 6th Avenue in Dania Beach?
Okay.
And I wanted to speak in strong support of this ordinance. I am the third ordinance because this ordinance will improve the health care and safety of children who live in. To protect against this happening is to support this ordinance and have the trees and structure when the damage reduces root integrity, opens wounds, which is because this tree, I'm hoping to raise my grandchildren here. I've devoted my life to this. This ordinance will help that. Having the trees healthy prevents death. Our children's health and safety are also significantly impacted by air, which is of particular importance in Dania Beach. All of these health risks are filter out pollutants and chemicals such as heavy metals, fertilizers. Keeping the trees decreases the health risks to us and not as effective as reducing and slowing the delivery of stormwater, as is an impactful way to reduce stormwater runoff. This will reduce the amount of money needed from the aggregate and putting storms that have knocked out my power for 3.5 weeks. I've lived through major rain and outweigh the individual wishes of a developer or a homeowner. This is why I strongly encourage you all to approve this ordinance. Thank you.
Got boots?
Lane, and I'm here with my son Jack because we're teaching him how government works. And it's just in time for quarantine. And it has been absolutely magnificent with our welcoming. It's a tree of life for those who grasp custodian of the land and the trees for the people who will be here in the future. I mean, that's him, including but not limited to the tree owls who I have the good fortune to listen to each night.
Thank you. Next up, we have Heidi. See her on the call.
Harvey, can you hear me now?
I can.
You can, okay, because thank you. It's extremely important from the comments that have been made. We are so fortunate to live here. In fact, that's not correct. We moved here for the trees. The first time I drove down, now I'm sure that there are plenty of people who moved here not for the trees, but as it was brought up, when you moved here, you knew what you were getting into. The ordinance doesn't change your right to remove a dangerous tree. Nobody wants removal or the trimming of non-dangerous trees. And you'll have to forgive me. So we know that that's part of living in the community. There we all appreciate that what each other has to contribute to the. We look to the city to preserve what we have here. So, I'm
Martha Brody. I'm Martha Brody. I don't have a chair. Dania Beach. I've lived here for 20 to 25 oak trees on our property, and we just enjoy the beauty of the trees up and down the street. It's just gorgeous. And we just really love it. So I guess what I want to say is we're all grown up, and maybe once in a while we trim the tree. One has any removed.
So what's your name and address for the record?
Louis Schwartz, homeowner there, and I don't think that I really have that many trees on my, as far as this ordinance is concerned. The last, that should be illegal. I think that that would be something else. But if we're talking about developers and large be under different ordinances today because of developers that we have to worry about. That may be. So as far as the petition that was done during COVID, there's a question about coming into town. You have properties there that have been neglected, might prevent people coming to the neighborhood, taxes that are in this year. So I think that pro ordinance from people that are not in the I don't think that's called for. Otherwise, nobody should be looking for any kind of mass removal of trees.
Please state your name.
Child here with me enjoy this meeting, and I'm here to teach him some priorities in life.
Thank you.
I have the guy next to me and hearing this conversation about trees. Unfortunately, there's such an argument and diversity. I don't want to express this in public. I don't want to embarrass people, say the name. People have been trespassed. Families are bigger than the others. And people sometimes have need to expand their home. But they might need to be limited to the limitation of the ordinance of the city. But I don't want to say shop for so many people to come from all over to give you time and to be pro it itself. I beach prove to do better. We need to bring money to fund all those projects. So I beg to see that we don't want it. Most of us don't want it. So go by majority, and I want to bless.
Next we have Bar. Please state your name.
My name is Bar Cater. I live on at 5941 Southwest Ordinance, sorry. And also speaking with a lot of my neighbors, been here for 27 years, raised our daughters here, never had a tree fall on any. But that aside, they're very, very strong. I've seen them go through so many storms, care about trees and have ulterior motives. The former speakers, I was one of the ones down there trying to stop it, are cutting them down because they want to build some sort of 37th Avenue with Mr. Edry cutting down these trees. My neighbors.
Yes, could you please state your name and address for the record?
As Bar said, we've been here for 27 years. We developed this area back in the 60s. And they had such a respect to be purchased, which they sold to Venetia Fardum, which was a symbiotic relationship. People moved into the area not because they loved the beauty of it, they'd rather live on the street. And it's great that you wanted to, shorten your out. We have seen people take down limbs and say, well, it dropped leaves, and my arborist come in and say, this branch is dead or this limb is dead. Let's finger doesn't mean to chop your head off. It just means